Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm so glad you're here for this part of your online learning journey with Europe Hotel School. My background is in modern hospitality operations and performance, and today we're going to dive into a skill that is absolutely core to leadership: risk assessment. And listen, this isn't just about dodging bullets or avoiding problems. It's so much bigger than that. It's about building a truly resilient and successful strategy that actually protects the very goals you're working so hard to achieve. So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with the basics, what this all really means. Then we'll walk through the 3 key steps of the process. And finally, and this is crucial, we'll talk about why this is an ongoing cycle, not just a one-and-done kind of task. All right, let's jump right in. So first up, what are we really talking about when we say risk assessment? Well, you can think of it as the absolute foundation of proactive leadership. It's all about getting ahead of the curve, looking into the future to prevent problems instead of just reacting when they blow up in your face. And here's the textbook definition. But I want you to focus on that last part, achieving its objectives. That's the key. Think about your hotel's goals for a second. Are you trying to boost guest satisfaction scores? Increase your RevPAR? Keep your team and guests safe? Risk assessment is simply the structured way of figuring out, okay, what could possibly stop us from getting there? Okay, so that brings us to our first practical step, actually identifying the risks. It sounds simple, but you can't manage a risk you don't even know exists, right? This stage is all about taking a thorough, really honest look across every single part of the hotel to map out where things could go wrong. And believe me, potential risks are literally everywhere. This slide just scratches the surface. You've got your financial risks, like how you handle cash. You've got operational risks, like what happens if your check-in system crashes on a busy Friday. And of course, the big one these days, data security. Every department, from the kitchen to the front desk, has its own unique set of vulnerabilities. Now here's something that's so important to get right. No one person and no single department has the full picture. It's just impossible. You know, a risk might start in the IT department, say a weak spot in your network, but the fallout could hit the front office and your finances in a massive way. That's exactly why collaboration is an absolute must. You've got to get insights from finance, operations, HR, IT, everyone, to build a real comprehensive risk map. Okay, so you've got this big list of potential risks. Now what? You can't possibly tackle everything at once with the same level of intensity. It would be chaos. And that's where step 2, analysis, comes in. This is all about sorting and prioritizing so you can put your time, money, and energy where they'll make the biggest difference. And this slide illustrates the heart of the analysis perfectly. You're basically weighing 2 things for every risk. How likely is this to happen? And if it does happen, how bad is the damage? So on one side, you have something like a small cash discrepancy at the front desk. It might happen pretty often, right? It's annoying, but the financial hit is small. But then you look at the other side, a catastrophic data breach. It's much less likely to happen, hopefully, but if it does, wow, the impact on your reputation, your finances, your legal situation, it's enormous. This analysis tells you in no uncertain terms, focus your strongest defenses on that high-impact risk. This thinking flows perfectly into our third step: designing the controls. Your action plan comes directly from the priorities you just set. And remember, the goal isn't to get rid of every single risk. That's just not realistic. The real goal is to put smart, sensible controls in place that match the size of the threat. I love this quote because it just nails the concept of balance. Think about it. If you make your team go through a 5-step approval process just to order a box of paper clips, you're over-controlling. You're slowing everything down and driving people crazy. But if you have simple passwords and no real firewall protecting your guest database, you are dangerously under-controlling a massive risk. It's all about making sure the effort you put into the control is proportional to the risk it's supposed to fix. All right, this brings us to our final and maybe most important point. Risk assessment is not a project you finish, put in a binder, and stick on a shelf. The world of hospitality is always changing, which means your risks are always changing too. So, great leadership means treating this as a continuous, living process. And this timeline shows you exactly why. You start with your baseline, your business as usual assessment, but then you launch a new mobile check-in system. Bam! You've just introduced a whole new set of data security and operational risks. Or maybe the market suddenly shifts and new financial pressures appear. That's why you have to schedule regular reviews, quarterly or whenever something big changes. to make sure your defenses are still up to the job.
So, at the end of the day, the big takeaway is this: we have to move past thinking of risk as just some compliance checklist for an auditor. The best leaders, they weave risk awareness into the very fabric of their daily decision making. When you're thinking about a new service or a new piece of tech, you're not just thinking about the potential upside, you're also instinctively asking, okay, what's the potential downside here? What are the risks?
And that's the question I really want to leave you with. This whole process, from identifying risks to designing controls, it's an incredible toolkit to have. But its real power, its true value, is unlocked when it becomes a mindset. So as you go forward in your careers, I want you to keep asking yourself this question. How are you going to make proactive risk awareness a part of your leadership DNA? Thank you.